Testing, testing. Is that on? Yeah.
Counselor Benavides, Counselor Valdez, Counselor Dennis Tim, can you all hear me?
Yes, I can.
Dennis?
Counselor Salazar, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello, Vicky.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. The time is now 6:10. Sorry for the delay. Counselor Salazar and Counselor Valdez are joining us via Zoom. We had a issue connecting the computer here in the main chambers, but we're up and running. We got a short agenda. Truth be told, it's Nuggets basketball, guys, so let's get through this. First item on the agenda is public comment, correct? No. I don't have an agenda in my, for me.
Need to go grab them.
Just tell me what, do you have one there? You have an agenda? We can do a determination of a quorum first, right? Counselor Benavides,
Present.
Counselor Salazar.
Present.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you for joining us. Counselor Valdez
Present.
and myself. So all committee members present. Thank you guys for your time. I know it's hard to get to committee meetings. We appreciate your commitment and appreciate you being with us via Zoom. We'll move on to the next item, which should be everybody present, okay? We have approval of the agenda. We only have a couple of items, two items from PD to one to recommend to full council and then just department reports. So do I hear an approval motion? Thank you.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Counselor Salazar. I'm sorry. We have a motion and a second for approval of agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comments. Do we have anyone signed up? Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Bradley.
Good evening. Am I on? Okay. I know it's been a while since, it's been like a little over a month. So I had just a few issues that again, I wanted to address. Stray dogs is one of my biggest issues lately. I call Denise pretty often. Hey, look, there's another stray. Yesterday or the day before, I almost got hit trying to save one from getting slammed by a vehicle coming like really fast down Riverside Drive, and the dog was almost in the middle of the street. So I cut the vehicle off because I'd rather get injured than the dog. We've been having a lot of strays in Cook's Trailer Park. I've noticed the issue that's coming, and I've seen it, but I wasn't able to get a license plate. I don't know what the road is that's behind us, behind the Home Run Pizza place. I don't know what that road is, if anybody knows. But that trailer park that's back there now, Chief, there is a tent city going on back there. all the way to the end between the property between theirs and Cook's, all the way at the back. There's a tent city there. Somebody actually stole my neighbor's dog, my neighbor's puppy, somehow decided to return it, or the dog got away from them and showed up in the trailer park behind us conveniently where the tent city is going on. So that's something that needs to be looked at desperately. But I've also noticed that stray dogs are getting dumped back there. There's like 5 new dogs running around our area. So that's one main thing that really needs to get addressed. A lot of this stuff seems to happen. And my biggest issue was when I called the dispatch about my neighbor's puppy being stolen. When she called, she was told, well, you need to file a report with the animal shelter. How is that possible when the animal shelter has absolutely no legal rights to do anything? So of course I text the chief and he says, no, call and file a report. The woman I was on the phone with was so belligerent and decided to start an argument with me. When I told her, I just spoke with the chief to make sure what I need to do. Oh no, wait till Monday, animal control. Oh wait, it's a holiday weekend. Nope, wait till Tuesday, animal control. We're like, but animal control is not out all the time. People that work for the shelter are not out in their vehicles all the time. Why am I not making an actual police report with a police officer who does go drive around the city and would see that puppy long before we would? Instead, me and my neighbors were out driving around, taking chances on knocking on home, these homeless people who are camping out behind the dollar store and further down in that area. I'm getting out of my vehicle and I'm chancing who knows what, because the dispatcher refused to dispatch an officer to us. Last time I checked, I pay my tax dollars. I'm not understanding why people in dispatch is also the one that told me about picking up dead animals. Remember that conversation we had about how they told me that I need to call this person, and that person told me, no, I need to call this person. So dispatch needs to be properly trained, apparently, as far as certain laws go, because I don't see why the animal shelter would be one where I would call. And secondly, waiting days for an ACO to be back on duty because we don't have one. It would be great if we could get a second one. And if you would be more than willing to, I'm more than willing to help give ideas to offset costs as far as getting a second ACO and putting money in the city towards hopefully getting a second ACO. And if you do part-time, don't have to worry about paying them all the wonderful benefits that you city workers get. So a part-time second ACO would be fantastic.
Right, thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Good evening.
Good evening. I find this to be a really important venue for people to be able to discuss issues, and I've made every effort to come here tonight. It is very difficult for me to come out. And so I just wanted to say that I do rely on the live streams, and I appreciate when those are posted. And that's how I've been able to kind of keep up with things. And forgive me if I get a little rambly. The medication I'm on sometimes makes me a little different. But I'm here tonight because I just wanted to talk about the experiences that I've had living at 602 East Fairview. I live right next to the trailer park that is back in there. And 604B.
Lane?
East Fairview Lane, yes.
Put you across the trip.
I'm sorry.
That puts you across.
Yes, I am on the other side of Riverside. Yes, I am just on the other side of the Walgreens. Okay. And at 604B, which is a trailer next to us, ever since we have moved there, we bought our property in 2018. And there has been a lot of, there was a lot of domestic violence that we witnessed. And that couple is no longer living there. And it has been a vacant property now for probably going on 2 years, I would guesstimate. On May 14th, I called the owner of the trailer park and let him know that we were hearing sounds over there. So he sent 2 workers to check it out. And the next thing we know, we hear glass breaking and really, really violent shouting. And so I contacted him again, and apparently one of the workers had been attacked with a rock. They were squatting in that abandoned trailer that has been boarded up. As soon as I let them know that, you know, somebody was living in there quite a while ago, they went in and they boarded up the windows and the doors, but people find their ways in constantly. And that is right outside of our bedroom window. And it's very alarming that it's escalating in the neighborhood, because recently there was the fire that was on Fairview Lane as well. And I had heard that someone had gotten injured in that fire. So this is becoming a serious issue. Since we've lived there, we have had multiple items stolen from our property. Our casita had the door kicked in. They didn't take anything that we could tell from the casita. They just looked around. We have had multiple incidents of gunshots being fired. We don't even call. We don't even bother anymore. And honestly, I didn't even realize there was a fire until a friend contacted me and said she was trying to bring some stuff to me. In fact, it was Bethany, and she couldn't get down my driveway. She couldn't get down the road. And I had ignored the fire trucks because we hear sirens so often. And was in the process of trying to steal our catalytic converter. When the police officers were there, I showed them the video footage that I had. And then after they left, I remembered that I had another video camera set up, a different product. So I looked on it, and I did have a clear shot of the gentleman's face. And I did send that to the police chief. I don't know whatever came of that. But there's also been 2 SWAT situations since we've lived there. First one was within the first, I'd say, year or 2 of living there. And it was like a 5 o'clock in the morning DEA raid. It was just like in the movies. My husband grew up in El Paso, so he knew what was going on. And he says, "Oh, they're not here for us to go back to sleep." But it was very upsetting to me. And then the other one was a gentleman who had barricaded himself into a building and it required, I actually have some really cool video footage of the bomb robots going down to check stuff out because they used the end of my driveway as command central. So I had a perfect shot into it, but this has happened more than any other place I've ever lived. And I wanted to just give this one property's experience. And I know that it's unfortunately not uncommon for others in our community to have these kinds of experiences, so. And my husband, who could not be here with us this evening, did want me to just basically request if there's any way we could get more patrol in that area, just more. And I know that, people are spread thin, but just to have more eyes on the area would really be super helpful. So thank you very much. I appreciate. Yes.
We'll move on to committee member comments. Anybody in Zoom have anything to say? Let's. Hold on. Counselor Salazar, Counselor Valdez, you have any committee member comments?
Not now, not right now. Thank you.
I have nothing either. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Go ahead, Counselor Benavides.
Just really quick, Mayor Pro Tem, I just wanted to let Chief know that I spoke to my neighbor before I came and recently there's been a lot of shots fired in Cayo de Honda. And apparently a couple nights ago, one came through her bedroom window and scared the heck out of the entire family. But she was really complimentary of the individual that showed up. She said it only took about 5 minutes to get there. He did talk to her about that there were only 3 officers on patrol that particular night and there were I think 5 other shots, fired calls. So I just want to, I was late, so I didn't get his name, but just, she was really complimentary of him. And I'm sure, Chief, when you give your report, maybe you could just give us a quick update on where we are with hiring officers. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Counselor Benavides. We'll move on to matters from the chair. The things that I have of concern. I just want to hear about where we're at with the New Mexico Department of Transportation grants. Those are renewed on a different calendar for fiscal calendar. I think October 30th is the last day for those. So I'm just curious about where we're at on that situation. And also I want to hear about what's going on with hiring. And then I have some other questions for fire department. But I do want to thank the fire department publicly for handling the fire on Fairview Lane. You guys are amazing, diligent. You guys continue to look for another body and put your lives at risk by going in that building to make sure that somebody else wasn't in there. We're a little short-staffed that weekend because usually we have mutual aid from different entities that provide us with the numbers that we require. Unfortunately, it was a holiday weekend and a lot of people were out of town. So it was a little tougher on us. And I think we need to be communicating really well with the departments that do provide us with mutual aid on the weekends that are holiday weekends and volunteer people do leave town or whatever. I think we need to be in touch with them, just making sure that they do have 1 or 2 people on standby for us in case it's necessary. Especially if there's a fire in one of their areas in a smaller area like San Pedro or La Mesilla. If you only have 2 people available in La Mesilla, that provides a problem for all of us. So something that we need to probably maybe have a discussion with the volunteer departments about that. And other than that, like I said, just thanking you guys for the work that you do, putting your lives at risk. All officers in our community on a daily are putting their lives at risk for the safety and well-being of this community. And we certainly appreciate Chief Maisel, Chief John, and Chief Wickersham for everything that you and your departments are doing for our community. It's unfortunate that we have so much turnover in the PD. I've been on the council 12 years and all my 12 years, we've always had that issue. It's something that police officers move around. I don't know what the deal is there, but I wish I could figure it out, to be honest with you. It's one of those things that just has always bewildered me. But thank you again for everything you guys are doing. Thank the officers also for what they're doing in our community, especially when we are shorthanded. So we'll go ahead and move on to approval of minutes. I don't know if anybody has had an opportunity to read the minutes from the last meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Mayor, a second, please.
Second,
We'll put second by Counselor Valdez and Counselor Salazar, even tie.
You owe me a Coke, Counselor Salazar.
Don't forget.
Or-
Counselor Salazar. We have a motion and a second to approve minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. we
Aye.
have a set of minutes. We're going to move on to discussion and recommendation to full council. We have item B, recommendation of full council for approval, purchase of vehicle equipment utilizing statewide local emergency infrastructure project funding in the amount of $240,000. This is a recommendation of full council. I'll go ahead and yield to Chief Michel to discuss this initiative.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem,
Evening.
Councilor Benavides, councilors via Zoom. Appreciate the opportunity to come before you. As you all know, we initially had received money through our capital outlay to purchase vehicles, which up to this point, we've received 2. It's been a long, arduous process, but we're hoping to receive the other 4 by the middle of July. So that was the first set of monies that we received from our capital outlay. Through the request, and we put in both myself and going through, of course, the mayor, I put in for an emergency grant fund that was available through the state, through the Department of Finance and Administration. And the city of Espanola with the Espanola Police Department received an emergency outlay of $240,000 to purchase more vehicles.
How many vehicles does 240,000 purchase?
It depends, ma'am, and that's something that I'm trying to, I can give you a rough outlay. What we're hoping to do, ma'am, to be honest, is 3 more fully marked vehicles, an unmarked vehicle, and then we have a vehicle that unfortunately just passed the warranty, the engine went out. So we have a brand new vehicle that if we spend approximately $10,000 on it just for the engine, it will be a brand new vehicle. It will be because the body's in immaculate condition. It's
That just went out.
a Tahoe.
What kind of vehicle are you purchasing?
We are looking to buy, the Durangos is what we're looking at buying. And each vehicle right now, approximately $57,000 fully outfitted is what we paid. It's going to be plus or minus, just depending on, again, we ordered those last year. So we're going to have to see what the cost is.
Be given the local dealership an opportunity at this funding.
We are going to, ma'am, now. This is the first time that I've been able to fully have control of the purchasing. So I will be reaching out to do that first. That will be that'll be my first phone call. I have a new person in charge of my vehicle inventory. That's been a problem that we've had. So with that being said, we're going in a new direction. And yes, we're going to go first local, ma'am. We are going to do that because it'd make it easier. And
You said we replaced 2 already from capital outlay.
we have 1 unmarked and we have 1 fully marked. So 1 was a lieutenant vehicle and 1 was a supervisor vehicle. So I have, and then the other 4, one is for my transport unit who have never had a new vehicle, miles and more. And we're transporting prisoners. We're looking at liability and safety for that. Every time we transport vehicles, our prisoners, we have to be safe and we don't need something, something bad to happen while we're transporting. So that's the first new vehicle that I was told by the sergeant that he's had in 10 years. So he's going to have 1 very reliable vehicle to transport. As for the other 3 vehicles, 1, and they're all fully marked. One will be labeled as a supervisor vehicle and the other two will be given to our field officers.
Well, I'm curious about this unmarked vehicles that you're talking about. For me, when I have vehicles in our community that belong to the police department, I like to have them marked.
Yes, ma'am.
That creates a presence in my community of police.
Yes.
That way everybody knows, oh man, there comes a cop. The other thing I like is for all of them to be unison, which we haven't been doing.
Oh.
That doesn't make any sense. I should be able to look at a vehicle from a mile away and say, that's our cop. I'm gonna tell you this, I cannot identify half of our vehicles. I can't see the ghost signs on there until they're at a certain angle. I can't, there's some Tahoes that I don't know, is that ours, is that not ours? I know the pink car is ours because of its longevity, I understand that. But I really would like to get to a point where we start to do black and white and Espanola very clear on it and a decal as to what officer number that is on each vehicle. The other thing is, I know that we had purchased tracking systems for all police vehicles. What's the status of that tracking system?
We are currently working on finding somebody either through the what is it called, the yards that can do it so that we can turn them on. So we'll know how. We ordered some of the parts required from my side to go ahead and implement that.
It's a
I am looking to implement that as soon as possible. Mayor Pro Tem, just to kind of respond to one of the questions that you asked in reference to the vehicles. From what I understood, the black and gold is something that was selected. And I can tell you when I got here, we had so many different types of vehicles. I am moving towards nothing but the Durangos and maybe keeping a couple of trucks because for officers who are larger in size, and I get these doctor notes all the time, they need to be in a vehicle that they fit in. So that's more for medical. So in a perfect world, what we're looking at having is every vehicle to be black and gold, which is with the color that was set before I started. The Durangos are what we're switching over to all our field officers. We have a few of the Chargers left. And again, it goes by cost sometimes, what we can and can't afford. And the trucks were purchased before. I'm not a big fan of trucks, to be honest with you, but I know we're going to probably need to have 2 or 3. As far as the unmarked vehicles, what we've done is we're utilizing those. And just like you said, we don't have more than 3 of those right now. We shouldn't. The only people that'll drive those are going to be the lieutenants, but we use them for a lot of traffic because people don't necessarily always see these vehicles right away. So we catch them when they're speeding. There's none of this slowing down. So they kind of help us because they're fully marked up. They meet the state statute. So having a few of those, which out of, I believe my fleet now hopefully is going to be up close to 20, 25, 26, if not a few more of those, I would say probably 80% of them are all marked. But anytime we have our field officers out in the field, they're driving the marked vehicles. So the black and gold was the color scheme that they decided on before I arrived here. And we do not have ghost writing on ours. We didn't, I don't,
Espanola Police Department is barely visible.
the gold.
Barely visible. I can barely tell that it's ours. I have to be like side by side. I can't spot it out like a mile from me. There's no way I can tell that's our vehicle. I can tell that it might be a cop car, but I can't tell if it's.
Yes, ma'am. And I guess that's something that we can talk about. If you'd like to see, I just know the cost of the wrap, especially to rewrap every vehicle. And I know the city of Espanola, the police department's gone through numerous iterations of police cars. And I think the money that's been spent on, like, I'll be honest, the one that we have that has all the colors on it and everything, it's a pretty car, but I think we spent money on that and we shouldn't have. It should have been just a basic car. That's the one that doesn't have the engine. And I'm not going to lose a car that we can only spend $10,000 for an engine, and I can use that car for another 4 to 5 years. It saves us money in buying a $57,000 car. So we're reevaluating every one of our vehicles. We have some extremely old vehicles in the fleet that we need to recycle and once again salvage.
So two that you said from capital outlay. You're expecting another three from capital outlay, correct? Or these are the three you're expecting
I have two that I received from capital outlay. I'm expecting four more.
from capital outlay?
Yes.
And then these three,
There'll be three more, yes.
one on one.
And then another car that we're gonna put an engine into. So we want to get rid of,
Have two, four that you're expecting, six,
and then four more.
and four more.
Yes.
10. Okay, so the last part of your fleet, that is the 10 oldest vehicles, you're gonna exchange those out, correct?
Not every one of them, because we still need vehicles, like at least two or three that in the event we have a breakdown, we need to have vehicles to have in backup, in case somebody's car, something happens to it, they have a vehicle to get back to work. So we're gonna keep at least, we always keep at least three, sometimes four, that someone else, if their car breaks down, God forbid they're in an accident or something like that, we have a car for them to use.
Very good idea. Right, do I hear a motion to forward this initiative, spending 240,000 of statewide local emergency infrastructure project funding? Full council for approval of purchase of vehicles.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Dennis stayed real quiet. He doesn't want to owe you another Coke, Counselor Valdez.
This time I would want peanuts.
It's in a Coke, you got it.
We have a motion and a second for a recommendation of full council for purchase of vehicles for Chief Misael Garcia's Police Department. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous. It will be forward to full council. Chief, thank you for your efforts in filling out that grant, getting that funding. It's so critical that our officers are safe while they're on our streets. And they cannot be safe in vehicles that are older and getting run down. So we appreciate that. Thanks
Thank
again. Up next, we have a update on the police department K9 policy. Do you want to go ahead and fill us in on what's going on? with that?
Yes, ma'am. I'm hopefully you've seen, Channel 13 yesterday had a pretty positive story on our K9, Kumo. And actually, someone sent me a copy of the front page of the Sun. It's in the Sun. They also did a pretty big story. Our K9 unit that we've initiated with the new policy. The policy that we helped recreate, the last time the city of Espanola actually had a working K9, and in working with my staff and with other people that have been around quite a bit, was 2003, 2004. So approximately 20 years ago was the last time we had it. We did have a dog, from what I understand, back in 2015, 2014, but it never worked. It was more like a dog that stayed at the office. So he or she was never put to work. I can tell you that with this policy, during the month of June, we've taken off probably, I don't have the exact stats in the story. I'm sure if Channel 13, Officer Epling gave it. We've taken off several pounds of illegal narcotics, to include meth, to include powder cocaine. And just 2 days ago, we took off 200 fentanyl pills with a couple $1,000s. The addition of that is just unbelievable to what we can add. People have no idea how valuable a K9 is. That's well used and well worked. Well, before we even got into that, we looked into best pattern and practices, both statewide and nationwide, for K9s. I worked pretty extensively with our K9 handler, but more importantly, with our city legal. I can tell you that the first thing I said is that we're not going to have a bite dog. I've been in charge of those type of units, and the liability is just unbelievable. But for us in Espanola, it was unheard to not have a K9. Actually, we have a couple more that have been donated, that once we have enough people, we're going to actually increase to 2, just because of 2 K9s can probably do the work of 4, 5 detectives during warrants and during traffic stops. But the policy, and I apologize, I know we wanted to download the policy, but I can give you each before I leave, and I can email each of the other counselors a copy of it.
That you email that policy to the full council, and then bring it back to committee to forward that to be adopted as the K9 policy to this committee at the next meeting.
Okay, at city council?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I'll add it to the agenda. But it's something that, like I said, best patterns and practices nationwide. It has really paid off, I can say, for our community. It has been unbelievable, the positive reaction that we've had and the number of arrests. I actually scheduled to meet with our local paper to give him an indication of exact numbers, the number of arrests. It's just added and everyone's excited about having this. We used one of our older vehicles that we actually had, which it didn't cost us anything extra. Somebody donated the cage. So as of now, it has cost us nothing to start our program. Now, for the coming year, we are going to have to pay for veterinary, right, for stuff like that. But for now, it's unheard of that we have a $20,000 dog that didn't cost us a penny. And that was a serious advantage that we've had that many other communities our size don't have. We have an officer that was highly trained. He's been doing this for 9 years. He's one of our recent hires that he brought that knowledge and experience to us. But the policy, and you're right, ma'am, I still will meet. I'll find out how you want me to get this to everybody. But it's not something that was just made up. Our city legal spent a lot of time with a fine tooth comb going through it. We compared it. I've also had previous experience, but I can tell you that our handler had a lot to do with it too. But I appreciated all the time and effort that our city legal team put into it.
It's important that the council have an opportunity to adopt it so that it's official and everybody's on the same channel with the policy and we all understand how that program is gonna work. Thank you again, Chief, for the ability of putting that K-9 officer to work. We look forward to another one. That would be really awesome. As you know, and as Bethany has filled us in before, the shelter here in Espanola offers free vaccination. And I'm sure they would be more than happy to promote, is it tomorrow? Promote through the K-9 officer, promote what they do and maybe make a story out of that too, so we can help the shelter get a little bit more exposure as to what they're doing to provide us with that service. So I think it's important that he should look into what the status of the vaccines are and utilize the shelter so we can sort of build up that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Since you're there, does anybody have a problem with Chief going first to present his report? You guys okay with that?
That's fine by me. Thank you.
Thank you. John, do you have a problem? No? John's being naughty. Just saying. Go ahead, Chief. Go ahead and give us your report.
All right, ma'am. Well, I appreciate the opportunity real quick. It was interesting that you brought up about the shots fired. I actually highlighted that real quick. And let me see where that, my page is. It's funny that that came up, but we did have, we've been having a more significant amount of shots fired calls that we've responded to. And I'm trying to find them real quick. I believe we had 19, which is quite a few that we've responded to. So there is, and I think that has to do a lot with now the summer months coming up. So
In one specific area, concentrate, or is?
these are citywide. These are citywide. Yes, ma'am. These are citywide that I have, the stats that I have. So we've had those. The other increase that we've responded to is alarm calls. We had 48. So I highlight private property, motor vehicle crashes. We've had an increase that we had responded to. We had 22 in a month, which that's private party where we don't take a report, but what we do is we show up, we provide them with the documents that they need to file an insurance claim, which still takes a long time, but they are on private property. I believe we're one of the few departments,
Can't
uh,
fight anybody on private property, correct?
unless it's reckless. Yes, ma'am, unless it's reckless or DWI. So no, but yes, it's interesting. Overdose, we've had 10, which was a slight increase that we're seeing. Shoplifting that we responded to 79. So that means we're going to a lot more of these. This is another interesting one. Suspicious vehicle, 203. That keeps us busy showing up to check on. I respond to those personally just to check the areas. We had one that actually, bless you, that resulted in a subject that was arrested felon in possession, had a gun, and I believe he had 8 warrants. So those type of calls are of value when we show up. And finally, the last one was welfare check, 103, where we show up, people call us, hey, we haven't spoken to a family member in this many days, or hey, we have somebody here or there. And in total for that month, we had 1,254 calls for service, which is actually low for us. We're now in the summer, we're going to be back up to 1,800. So we're getting ready for the tsunami that's coming, for the calls, and we're preparing. And if I could real quick, just to answer a couple of questions Councilor Benavides had asked. In the last month, I'm having the opportunity, I've hired 4. 2 are females, which I'm happy to report. And one of those females wants to be my next canine handler, which I told her, if she makes it through everything, of course, she would be next. She has an experience. She owns, I believe, 4 or 5 German Shepherds, and she feels very familiar, but she needs to make it through the academy first. So I've hired 4, but unfortunately, I've lost 3, and 2 of them actually left law enforcement completely. I mean, just completely left law enforcement, which is difficult to, how do you fight that? But we're doing our best. We're kind of finally taking 3 steps forward and only maybe 1 back. But we have been really,
At least they're offset, you know, in the past, we've had it where we've had people leave the department and then we're just up a creek because we don't have them covered. In this case, I mean, we lost 3, but you have 4 new hires, so you're still ahead of the curve a little bit. And I want to continue that in the future with the monthly advertisement for new officers, the monthly interviews for new officers, a constant roundabout, just the way that they're leaving us, an influx to bring them in.
and I think you and I have spoken about that. I've taken over a lot of that from HR because sometimes it was just under HR's, purview, but now with us, we're kind of more and more, I'm pulling it into our department where we want to test every 2 weeks. We're trying, the problem is this, the officers I'm losing are certified. The ones that are coming in are uncertified. So even though I'm replacing those officers, we're still behind because there's a major difference in the experience and in the liability that we all have.
When you're training these newbies, are officers getting supplemental pay when they're handling a rookie officer?
Yes, ma'am, they are. I believe they better, if I'm not mistaken, I think they are. I'm gonna have to, yes, they are. I do know they are because Officer Epling, yes, they are. So the other thing that we're trying to do is, like you said, I have a new social media officer. We're gonna start posting on our, believe it or not, our webpage gets a lot of hits. So we're gonna start saying testing next week, testing in 2 weeks, and just talking about, that's why we're very active, if you may have noticed, on social media and throughout newspapers and TV. We're trying to show that the Espanola Police Department is busy. We're out there.
Doing a good job with that. Let me just state that there's been a lot of positive feedback from the department in the news, in the Rio Grande Sun, and in the state news and stuff, but I really feel like it's important to continue that. But I really want to focus on the issues that these women are talking about, possibly looking at that second animal control officer, getting to a point where we have enough officers where we can split them up so they can stay in one quadrant and patrol every street at least once or twice in their shift, once when they come on, once when they leave. And we're not concentrating on so much on being reactive to what is going on. I know that I'm dreaming, but in reality, that would be really cool if we could get to that point. I know that you're killing it to try and replace your officers as soon as you can. I want you to continue those efforts, to do whatever you can do. I know that myself and this council and the safety committee understand the importance of having enough officers to be safe. You just can't patrol a community with 2 officers. It's unsafe to the officers. It's unsafe to the community. So I need you to continue to do whatever you gotta do. And then when the pressure comes, budgetary issues like right now, when the pressure comes, that pressure is off of you and it's on us to figure it out. So you just need to keep doing what you're doing and try and build that department as much as you can. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am. And I appreciate you. My goal is to have 5 officers on every shift.
That-
Five, that would be the goal. And just so you know, we'll talk later. I moved an officer to detective unit because we do have a lot of problems with drugs here. In the last month, my department has hit 4 search warrants, which we had not done in a long time for drugs.
That to continue also. I think, there's a lot of people that have dealt drugs in this community without any repercussion or fear of repercussion or fear of getting caught or fear of getting busted or anything. I think that is, we're starting to make the turn on that, and it's starting to feel like there is some repercussion happening and people are getting arrested, and it's been the very first arrest that we've had on drugs probably in 4 years.
And actually, we seized 27 weapons during the month of June, including 3 ARs. 2 of them had scopes. So it's been a busy month. The guys are starting to, our detective unit, I can tell you my new lieutenant is awesome.
Yeah.
He has a job and he does it well and he knows how to do it. But if there are no other questions, Mayor Pro Tem.
Couple of questions, and I do want to add that I think working together is a big deal, because I can tell you, I was out at the apartment complex yesterday, Vista Del Rio, and it was so peaceful and so quiet. People were walking the neighborhood. Unbelievable versus what was happening there before. There's still a couple of identified areas that I don't think we've told you about yet. One you do know about, but there's a home now that we need to talk to you about. But I mean, just the consolidated effort that has happened in that area to just completely clean it up is unbelievable. It's a huge difference, right? It's a huge difference. And I was also out at Fairview Lane. There was an individual there in a bad situation, a senior. And we, of course, removed them and condemned that little area there. And that's another, I was shocked. Just, it's a disaster there. So we're gonna have to see what we could do. But I took some time and was riding around with code enforcement on Friday. And I have a little bit of concern for code enforcement. I don't know what it would take to at least get them tasers, Chief. I know it's probably a big deal, maybe not, but I think it's important. I mean, I wanted to identify what homes had been condemned, because I have a rehab grant that I'm going to go after so that we can possibly rehab some of those properties and just see which properties were being cleaned up. I placed a call to Santa Fe County on some homes that belong to Santa Fe County. They were outside the city. They were being cleaned up today. I was shocked at some of the cleanup that was happening in that area today. And, but in riding around with code enforcement, I mean, those guys also deal with some crazy stuff. And I know that they really work together with you guys and have a lot of good things to say about the PD and how the PD responds and helps them when they need it, right? Did we ever sign an MOU with Santa Fe County, Chief? Did that, or we never did that? I mean, I saw them driving around a little bit, but
We have been more interactive with them, and they have been providing more of a presence. And I've spoken both to the Sheriff Mendoza and to one captain, and he and I, again, it helps to know each other.
Yeah.
So they've been responsive. They actually helped me on my last lieutenant board. So it's all about relationships. So I have a gentleman, captain I call, and hey, Mike, can you guys help me out with this? And
yeah, I
he
just
goes,
wanted
"Yeah."
to follow up on that.
So we do, and it takes a while, and Espanol, as you all know, is very unique.
Well, I'm
so
still
our
pushing for a
relationships are
substation, so
difficult.
hopefully we can
Yes.
do that. And then just really quick, just for my education, Chief, can you tell me how many field officers we have currently, if you know?
Let me see, ma'am, real quick. Every shift plus a sergeant. So there should be 3, 6, there should be 12.
And then as far as sergeants and lieutenants, are they out patrolling out on the street if they need
Yes,
to be?
the sergeants, ma'am, and the field lieutenant are out there.
Okay,
Okay, I was gonna break it down for you all at the city council. They asked me for the reorganization. I am cutting my sergeants down by 2 because having 1 sergeant with 2 or 3 people doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna have 2 sergeants working, and I'll give you a quick thing. Sergeants will be working 12 to 12. My officers will be working 6 to 6. My lieutenants working 3 to 3. So I kind of am handling around 24-hour clock. I want to have supervisors out. I want to have people out. So by changing that and only having 2 supervisors for now, because I think we had a little bit, I'll be honest, I've been here a little bit of overkill with supervision. I'd rather have those officers out there.
Yeah, just
So
more for my education.
We're changing it. So everything is changing there. As far as the other people, they all have their, like my detectives and I work with the lieutenant investigations. And then my admin lieutenant doesn't have anybody working for them, but they pretty much do everything that I can't do, they do for me. I assign to them.
And then Chief, I just want to thank you because I know I text you all the time. There's a tent city. Somebody called me about this, right? And the guys are just on it. And I think if we continue to do that and be diligent, you know, we'll make some headway. And I think the other thing that's important is cleaning areas up, right? Because there's no place for somebody to hide. There's no place to, you know, and just encouraging individuals, right? Our constituents to speak up, I think is another thing that's going to help. And, you know, we just target one at a time and we keep going. And I think, you know,
Yes, ma'am, we're getting there.
get there.
Chief, so I wanted to touch base with you on the car lane situation behind Walmart. What's the plan for that?
Mayor Pro Tem, if you ask, yes, 2 days ago, I had 5 of my units were with me on the way home because every time I call out, the guys show up, they forget that I'm also a cop, but they're protective and I appreciate them. We're there every day. The problem is we have no jurisdiction outside the cul-de-sac and behind the Walmart. That's tribal land and they know that. But we show up there. I show up personally twice a day, once on my way to work, once on my way home, every day that I'm here. My guys now are constantly there. We've actually made some arrests there lately. We've showed up. The problem is it's like an escape route. All you have to do is take 50 steps and you're out of our jurisdiction and we can't touch you.
You contacted Donovan about meeting you there. The last time that we met with the Pueblo, they had like a basic understanding that we were all gonna work together with that problem and they had no issue with us going into the property and possibly even clearing it out the way that we had done in the past. I don't know that there's money to do that and I don't know that there's not, but it's something that is very important. And what scares me about that situation is that the homes in proximity, like Bethany was saying, you know, when they're by the river on one side, but the other side of that is housing and neighborhoods. And if, God forbid, that one of those houses goes up, it's gonna lead to another one and another one. Those houses are in very close proximity to each other. So please contact Donovan, ask him if they can do some kind of something with us. Like maybe both departments come out on the same day and at least scare them out of there. The area that she's at the area that she's talking to belongs to Santa Clara. The other area behind Walmart belongs to Kewinge. Let's try and have a discussion with them at least and see if we can't have them meet us out there at least one day.
Yes, ma'am. And hopefully we're hopeful. Both entities have had a JPA that we've submitted to them about a year ago. Both the city manager and I,
They told me, excuse me, what they told me is that there's no need to be so formal as the JPA, that we could just work together. That was my last understanding.
and my thing is I will do, my concern is we'll do what I'm advised to do by the governing body. My concern is liability. And for both the city, for our department, that if something happens, and I've seen that happen before, so I'll do whatever the governing body says I'm authorized to do, or my department is authorized to do, we'll do it. But my concern is, again, the liability issues that we might, you know, fall under. If somebody's injured or if something happens, that they're gonna sue the city and say that we had no jurisdiction and we were not commissioned to take that action. But I will I meet with Donovan and with Eduardo, with Chief Martinez and Chief Trujillo. We meet at least every other week. We have coffee together. We talk about issues going on. But I know Chief Trujillo is very active in that and I'll call him again. He and I spoke just the other day about, I actually have a tent city just north of my building and that one thing there behind where Garcia's is. I can't really do anything about it. I've gotten in the PA, but I can't go out there and address them. And they're by that one housing project just to the north of them. You know which one I'm talking about.
I do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate you, sir.
Chair, just really quick, just so that you know, as far as the grants, the DOT grants, the DOJ grants, the DFA grants, Rob has visited already with individuals on all of the grants. He's written or prepared the paperwork and sent in to extend any of the grants that had upcoming due dates or were already due. So all of that has been done, and hopefully we'll give an update in the next meeting. So that,
I actually want to print out as to
Yeah.
what grants we have, what grants are ongoing, what the deadline is to finish those off. I know that DOT is not going to provide anybody with an extension or a deadline because it's an annual give. So if you don't use it, they're going to call it back and then you're going to have to reapply. The problem is that if we're not utilizing it, then they think we don't need it.
Yes.
And
Right.
every hour of grant that they provide, they expect 2 citations to come from that. So if you figure that if we're sending back, let me give you an example. If we're sending back $1,200 of overtime funding to the guys on these grants, you separate that by the amount that the officer would be making. So the officer possibly would make $35 an hour around there. Oh no, time and a half. So it would probably be like $40 an hour, $45 an hour, chief.
That would be, ma'am, just going based on 30, 15, 7, yes, right around 45.
So you're looking at 26 officer hours at just $1,200. I'm just giving you an example. So at 26 officer hours, you would be looking at 50 citations in this community. So that's a big impact. 50 citations through that grant is a big impact to the community safety. So my point being this, that we should never want to return that money because we're gypping our community out of those opportunities. So, you know, it's not due until October. We have time. Fiestas is coming up. You might want to run something like, I think there's a click it or ticket, or there's a DWI, and I think there's 100 days. I'm not sure which ones are out there. Get with Rob, find out and see if during that weekend when we have an influx of officers, if there's a way to utilize it so that it lands up being that we have more officers on and we're utilizing the grant to cover some of that.
yeah, good idea, but they have now been addressed.
Okay, good. I'm definitely looking forward to that list. I do have concerns about meeting deadlines and losing money. I think anytime that we get a grant and we don't utilize it or we mess it up, God, that hurts my heart. So let's just try and stay on top of that, chief. We do have time though,
Yes.
because their fiscal is October, ours is June, end of June. So I think it's an opportunity for us, and let's try and wrangle that. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. Fire Chief John Martinez and Assistant Chief Wickersham. Front and center, gentlemen.
It's almost over.
Tell me that I'm almost to cry over here. Talk fast.
Let's see what the score is.
No, don't say, I'm recording it.
Mayor Pro Tem, governing body. Try to make this quick as I can.
We appreciate you, chief.
Alrighty, so in front of you guys have my statistics that I sent out to you. I sent out the ones for the month of April and also for May. They'll show you that for April, we had a total of 195 calls. And May, we had a total of 202 calls. Up to date for the end of the month of May, we have 1,046 calls.
I'm afraid to try restarting it, 'cause then Zoom will restart.
And then, so I also wanted to kind of give you guys a report of what we've done for the month of May. Like, you know, I want to come back and stress everything that what you said, Peggy. I have a heck of a fire team. firefighters that do a lot and everything, fighting fires, and there's other things that, a lot of people don't know what they did. And I have Union President Alex Swazo here, and I just wanted to bring up some of the things that he did. This year, he worked up a plan with Red Cross, with Wade Merritt, on developing a plan to put up smoke detectors. And they picked the place, and so on May 6th, the union, along with Red Cross, they called it Sound the Alarm. There was a total of, and they picked Cook's Mobile Home Park due to the location and number of residents in that area. There was a total of 90 trailers in the trailer park, but only 50 trailers were able to get smoke detectors. Some residents already had smoke detectors or did not have any present. The 50 trailers that were mentioned earlier got 2 smoke detectors installed due to not having no working detectors or not having any at all. So that was, I want to thank, like I said, the individuals, my A shift, Lieutenant Mangus, firefighter Trujillo, firefighter Herrera, firefighter George, firefighter Christopher Montoya, and firefighter Alex Swazo, and along with the 6 American Red Cross volunteers. As you know, Rivera Funeral Home will be having an event this month, and they wanted the union to team up with them, just because they know how proactive we are. So on Saturday, June 24th, they'll be having a community cookout and resource fair. This event is for everyone in the community.
Who's sponsoring it?
What's that?
Sponsoring?
Rivera's Funeral Home.
It just got bought out, huh?
And yeah, that's gonna be June 24th. We'll be giving out free food that day and have booths from different departments that will provide resources to the community and homeless population. They're also gonna be seeking donations from the community for, like, with, gentle use clothes, toiletries, non-perishable foods, and they plan to hand those out to the day of the event or to those who are really much in need. And that's all I have. So at this time, I want to yield the floor to my assistant Wickersham, who will be giving you probably an update on the projects that we have of La Jolla and in the training facility.
And also, we did test for a cadet today. So we did testing today. We had 3 applicants that applied. There was only one that showed up. There's one that came from Texas, I believe, and he got stuck in some kind of hailstorm. It broke his back windshield and everything. So he didn't make it, but we did test one. He was a good cadet. So we were looking at hiring him if he passes everything else. So we just have some updates for La Jolla and then also the training facility. We met with the designers for the training facility on Monday, I believe it was, or Tuesday. Things are moving ahead with that, looking really nice. We have the fire station along with the training facility and a fire station in the bays. And then the burn tower that we're moving. We're going to separate them into 2 projects and hopefully we can go forth with the burn tower. I think we'll have money to do that this year. So we're going to meet with
For 2 things.
it's probably going to be broken up to probably 3, probably the burn facility. And then the building. He's thinking it's going to be $4 to $5 million for that new station. It's a little bit more than we expected. So it just depends what we can get for capital outlay or get for grants or anything like that.
Civil classroom.
Yep. That'll have 2 huge classrooms. Yep, two big classrooms. That's bathrooms, that's showers for them, lockers for them. Offices, 2 different offices, one for the State Fire Marshal's office. They're looking for an office in this region. So we think that if we give them an office and tell them that there's one available in this new building, that they would jump on this as well to support us. They're already supporting us, but we tell them that we're building them an office as well, that might help as well. So yeah, so it's going to be 3 different phases. Hopefully we can get the first phase done. That'll be the burn facility. We meet with them on Friday along with the designer, and we're going to see what we can do. We have a package already, the prefab building That's a 5-story burn tower along with a 2-story. So the tower is 5-story, the burn building will only be 2 stories. So first and second level for burning, and then 5 stories for rope repelling and stuff like that for glasses. So we think we can do that. So it's looking pretty positive for that. We're gonna go forth with that. And then with the La Jolla project, we met with the mayor last week, did a walkthrough of that building with the mayor and the designer, the contractor with Robert. He says we're 2.5 months out for completion. So moving really quickly. They already started the interior walls this week. They're putting in windows, the doors should be done here in the next couple days. Yep, it's moving along quickly. So we're excited about that, and 2.5 months for that. The house behind La Jolla that we had purchased, I've met with 3 different contractors. All 3 of them say they cannot move that building. I got a pretty good detailed report on why they couldn't from one contractor. Send it to the CM. I meet with another contractor tomorrow. I'm trying to find somebody that can move it. But it's infested, I guess, with termites, water damage, and some other issues that they won't do it. The 3 contractors that I've met with won't do it. And they said if they did, it's gonna be really pricey. But I did get 3 different quotes for demolition for that building. And so
What does that look like?
for demolition, I have one for 17, one for 20, and one for 22.
Okay,
And then we're gonna,
any, see, where are my notes? What did I want to talk to you guys about? Oh, transports with the fire department. Have we moved forward on anything to do with that?
so Chief Martinez has set up meetings with the hospital, with Brenda from the hospital. We've met with her several times. It looked really positive in the beginning. With them reimbursing us for our transports, we'd average anywhere from 20 to 30 a year. And that's just because they're not available. That's not the calls that we actually go to that we can we could possibly transport. So we met with them. It looked really positive in the beginning. We just got an email from her last week saying that they can't reimburse us. They talked to their lawyers.
Well, they said that they can reimburse us, but the only time that they can reimburse us is if we have one of our firefighters driving them in. But that's
Rare.
that's not the point where we're looking at. We're looking at them where they cannot transport because they're not here. And I don't know if that's an issue, the way that the lawyer's not looking at versus the way that we want to do it. So that's why when we have this meeting, we're gonna, I'm gonna bring up
Yeah.
that point where it's well, we're not trying
To get certified through PRC
We have met with them as well.
hospital.
We have met with them as well to go that route. That's a huge obligation for the city and for the fire department. But it is a route that I would like to take. We would be taking over the tariff, which would be the city limits. That means we're responsible for any transport that the city has. With the manpower we have now, we could probably do it, but it's gonna be hard. And if we're transporting one to the hospital and we have a structure fire, it's gonna be hard, but I think that's the route that we need to go.
like I was telling you, it can be done, but we're gonna have to hire more personnel. And the only way to hire personnel is because you're gonna have to have it. Like I tell them, we're headed towards, like all these other departments are the bigger departments, like, but when you go work for Los Alamos and you're a paramedic, or you go to Santa Fe Fire, or you go to Albuquerque Fire, we're stuck on that bus. That's it. They don't even, if they fight fire, that's them and on.
Usually drivers are just.
That's all they are, is on that rig. And I tell Wick, we're not that, we fight, we get on that rig, we fight it, we go do medical, we fight fire, and we do this. And one of the biggest issues, if we have a structural fire for us, that is our #1 priority, because the hospital has to take.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But I think if we do have a structure fire, then we do call mutual aid, have Santa Fe County come in, have the hospital come in and transport. I think there's different options we can look at. But I think Yep.
Yeah, like I said, we've been working on it.
A business plan, see what the possibility is for billing. what
Yep.
we're Looking at,
And the CM,
better understand the dynamic of staffing that, what all that would entail, how much, how many, all of that stuff, you know what I mean?
and I know the city manager, I don't know if you've seen the budget or not, but we did put in for I think 20,000 for billing to try to help out with billing if we did go that route. I don't know if it got approved or not, but yeah, I think that's the route we need to look at going also is to get PRC certified and be able to take it over at one point. But it is gonna take manpower and staffing.
Raise some money and like that, because once we do that, I don't think we'll have a problem hiring extra personnel if we're gonna do ILS, but if we start going into ALS, then we're gonna have to start hiring paramedics and.
No, I understand that,
But they did say that,
well, that's like what we need to see. I need to see what's the minimum that it's gonna take as far as staffing. What's the cost? I mean, if we have to hire a paramedic, there's gonna have to be a 24-hour. It's not gonna be one paramedic is my point.
and I think we can do it with ILS. We met with the EMS Bureau also. We've been having a lot of meetings. We met with the EMS Bureau and they think that we can take over this tariff just with basic right now, basic and intermediate. We don't need to go the paramedic route right now. That we could start with basic and intermediate, because 90% of your calls are gonna be basic and intermediate calls.
And
So,
then- So like I said.
and we're so close
we've
to the
been looking
hospital.
At every route, even if we go hire paramedic, because even with the city manager saying, well, let's send them to a program to become. So we've already checked into like the programs that they have, like at San Fe Community College has them, but you're looking 2 years just to get to become a paramedic.
Yeah, it's not an easy class.
that's a
It's
long
a
go.
pretty tough class.
Somebody
Yeah.
trying to work with their schedule and stuff.
Yeah,
We-
so
We
that's-
find it kind of hard when we even just send them for.
For basic and intermediate, yeah.
So when you.
No,
say,
uh,
Like at that week, if we had another 6,
When Marty was here at E911, when she was a director, she actually sponsored a paramedic class through a grant. So she had an opportunity there for anybody to get paramedic certified. And UNM came out and actually did the training in the evenings here in town.
it's changed a lot from back then to now. Before you used to be able to get like Randy Sanchez used to be able to teach classes like that, and now it takes, before, used to be a first responder would only take you a month.
Yeah.
Now it's.
Oh, it's a big deal for sure. That's a lot of medical and everything, yeah.
We actually have a meeting with Brenda on Friday. So we're
Just
still,
keep us posted. I'm glad that that's still on the table and we're still working on that. Anything else from anybody on the council? No? Counselor Salazar, Counselor Valdez, anything for the FD?
No,
I have
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge online, you guys?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Thank you, Judge. Go ahead with your presentation, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. For the month of April, because we're a month behind reporting, there was 46 citations for the month of April. Total fines collected and deposited for the month of April 2023 was $2,000, $2,065. If we scroll through, you're gonna get the court stats, which we never usually go through. I'm gonna jump straight to graffiti because I think that's an important thing to meet on. For the month of April, it was 5,900 square feet that was covered for just the month of April, which is a huge jump for the court. My graffiti officer was telling me that at the beginning of the year, he set his goal for the year to be 5,000 square feet because prior years there hadn't been so much, and in 1 month we surpassed that. The high traffic areas that are really getting hit is Ranchitos, behind Route 21 and the Dollar Tree. That wall is constantly getting hit. For the most part, it's just a lot of just the walls and places that aren't really lit up for at night. it seems like. I stand for any questions.
I have a question concerning the rise in the influx of graffiti on the west side also and in that area that you're talking about on Car Lane. Have we considered utilizing game cameras in any of those areas to see if we can identify who the perpetrators are?
Well, we have not. I know in the past, the court did have, at one point, Jolene was actually telling me that at one point, the court got game cameras
I know they-
for Ranchitos Park when Richard Marquez was still around.
Yeah.
And there wasn't very much, it wasn't very good shots to get. If we're gonna do cameras, we need to do
video-
cameras that would get us some good shots.
Yeah, I think it would be important to try and find out who's doing it. I do see that there's a graffiti war going on between at least two different affiliations. Seems like one of them's covering up one and then the other one's covering up theirs, and it's a constant issue. Also would like to know where the heck these people are buying spray paint, because it takes me a half hour to wait at Walmart for somebody to open the page for me to get a can of spray paint, and then it if I don't have my ID, they don't sell
Well,
me the spray paint, so.
At
maybe-
any, they can get spray paint at any smoke shop. A lot of smoke shops sell the paint that's for artists, and they can get it at any Walmart, any Lowe's Hardware, but the good expensive kind you would get at the smoke shops.
Okay, so I think the city of Espanola can look into a possible ordinance of when somebody buys spray paint, the owner of these shops has to have a legitimate ID, and the police department can go back into these stores and try and figure out who's buying specific colors of paint and what's being utilized. Because that 5,000 square feet of graffiti in a month is ridiculous. It's
It
not,
is, it's extremely high.
yeah, it's not right.
It is extremely,
Okay,
that,
Judge, anything else?
because the number I did, go ahead and I just hired a graffiti officer that's gonna be full-time with the other graffiti officer, taking down all of this, especially now for our summer months.
Right. And I think it's very important to stay on top of it, because it does identify our community in a very derogatory way.
And then one suggestion I do have is if we could maybe even look at the Ranchitos area, putting cameras on the pool.
I
Because
agree
even
with that.
cameras, even not having cameras there, it's just such a, with the pool, as many people try to sneak in, and I think it's time after all these years that we
I
put some
agree.
security cameras in that area. I think that would help out, because we'd be able to identify any of the graffiti. There's a lot of things that go on at night at the park that I think it's a good time to do that.
You're right. Can you give me an update on Teen Court and what possibly is happening with that?
Teen Court, we are running smoothly, and was supposed to put that in this month. I apologize. Teen Court, we're running smoothly. We've been now for the summer months. We usually decrease in how many referrals JPO sends us, but as of Ashley's last report, she said that they're still sending, because there's still a lot of things that hadn't been handled. So we're still running smooth. We just had our incentive trip for our Teen Court attorneys. They're the attorneys that are mostly ROTC, but anybody's welcome. They're the ones that come and volunteer their time and prosecute the cases and defend the Teen Court litigants at the time of their hearings. So we just gave them an incentive trip that we went to Albuquerque, and it was a really good day.
Awesome. Okay, Judge, thank you for your time. Thank you for your report. If you have any other concerns, feel free to email anybody on the committee, okay?
Yes, ma'am. And then also one other thing I did want to throw out, my staff, they're finishing up one of the clean and beautiful grants right there in front of City Hall.
I did see
If
that.
anybody's
yeah.
noticed, if any counselors or anybody wanted to donate any extra flowers or any succulents or anything that we could put there, we are open to donation. We are open to getting anything that anybody might want to put there.
Okay,
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. You guys have a great evening.
all right. Thank you so much. I think that pretty much finishes off our agenda. The next meeting is scheduled for July the 5th. If any of you are gonna be out of town, could you notify us, either myself or Victoria as soon as possible so that we can possibly move that meeting if it's necessary, okay? Like I said, I feel like these committee meetings are very important. I appreciate Counselor Salazar and Counselor Valdez for your attendance via Zoom. Thank you, Counselor Benavides, for being here, and thank the staff for everything you do. I appreciate everything going on with public safety in the community, and we'll adjourn at this time. Thanks again, you guys, okay?
Thank you. Good night.